Nate Carter sat quietly in his seat aboard the Earth Federation ship Harmony. The ship moved smoothly through space, heading toward the Alarian sector. Nate was a systems engineer, not someone who usually went on diplomatic missions. But this time was different. Earth was sending a team to help fix a damaged Alarian station and build a friendly relationship with their people. Nate had skills the mission needed, and he had volunteered. He looked out the small window near him. Stars passed slowly, glowing, like tiny lights. He thought about the Alarian people. They were not new to humans, but this would be the first time he met one up close. He had seen pictures and videos, but it was not the same. When they arrived at the Alarian station, Nate followed the team down the docking corridor. The station looked different from human designs. The walls had a soft glow, and the air smelled slightly sweet. Everything felt calm and quiet. They were welcomed by a group of Alarian officials. One of them stepped forward. She was tall, with smooth silver skin and eyes that shimmered like water. Her name was Kalira. She spoke with a clear, calm voice. "Welcome to our home. We are thankful for your help," she said. Nate nodded, trying not to stare. There was something graceful about her. He had never seen anyone like her before. Her movements were smooth, and her voice was soft but strong. He felt his heart beat a little faster, but he looked away. Over the next few days, Nate worked with the Alarian and human teams. They were fixing power systems and checking the station's structure. Nate was good at his job, and soon Kalira noticed his quiet focus. She often came to check on the repairs, and he found himself working harder whenever she was near. Nate didn't say much to her at first. He just watched her from a distance. She didn't seem to notice, but sometimes their eyes met, and she would tilt her head as if curious. One day, Kalira joined the repair group directly. A power core needed realignment, and she said she had knowledge of its systems. Nate was assigned to work with her. He felt nervous, but tried to hide it inside. The narrow chamber, the light was dim, and the space was tight. Their shoulders touched once as they moved around the console. Nate felt heat rise in his face. Kalira noticed. "Are you uncomfortable?" she asked. "No, I'm fine," he replied quickly. She looked at him for a moment, then returned to the task. As they worked, Nate stole a glance at her. She turned suddenly and caught him. "Human, why do you keep staring at me?" she asked, her tone more puzzled than angry. Nate froze. He opened his mouth, but couldn't find the right words. I wasn't," he said weakly. She raised an eyebrow. "You were many times. Is something wrong with my appearance?" "No," he said quickly. No, not at all. You look fine." She stared at him a moment longer, then nodded and turned back to the controls. Nate sighed, his heart pounding. He had blown it. Now she probably thought he was rude or strange. That night, he sat in his bunk and stared at the ceiling. His bunkmate, Lisa Monroe, noticed his silence. "What happened?" "You look like you got caught stealing food," she joked. Nate told her what happened. She laughed softly. "So you finally got caught staring, huh? Maybe it's time to be honest." "She wouldn't understand," he said. "She might. Aliens don't mean they're clueless. Try talking to her. Tell her she's interesting. Or just smile more." Nate wasn't sure. He wanted to say something, but he didn't want to make things worse. He would just do his job, stay quiet, and try to forget how her voice made him feel. Calm, how her smile made him forget the stars outside. But he knew that would be hard. Very hard. The next morning, Nate walked into the control room, feeling nervous. Kalira was already there, standing near the main console. She nodded when she saw him, but said nothing. Nate kept his eyes on the screen, trying not to look at her for too long. They were working on a power transfer system that connected several parts of the station. It was delicate work, and they had to be careful. Nate focused on the wires and data, But Kalira's presence was strong beside him. Her voice, calm and soft, gave him small instructions. She never raised her voice, even when something went wrong. Nate found himself listening more to the sound of her words than the meaning. He tried to answer clearly, but sometimes he stuttered or paused too long. She didn't comment on it, but once he saw her glance at him with a confused look. Later in the day, they took a break. Kalira sat quietly near the wall, sipping a clear liquid from a small silver cup. Nate sat a few feet away, opening his ration pack. He looked at her, then looked away. After a moment, she spoke. "Why are you always silent around me?" Nate blinked. "I just don't talk much." "You speak more with the others," she said calmly. "But when I am near, you become quiet. Is it because I am Ilarian?" "No," Nate said quickly. "It's not that." She waited, but he didn't say more. She seemed to think for a moment. Many humans speak freely. You do not. You watch instead. Always watching. Nate looked down. He didn't know what to say. You wanted to tell her everything, but he couldn't. Not yet. Maybe I just ... Don't know how to talk to someone like you, he said at last. Someone like me? Someone who is calm and strong and ... different. Kalira tilted her head. You mean I make you uncomfortable? Nate quickly shook his head. No, you make me nervous, but not in a bad way. I mean, you're interesting. She was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. I see. They finished their break in silence. But it was a softer silence now. Not cold, not tense. Just quiet. Over the next few days, Nate and Kalira continued to work together. Slowly, things changed. She began to ask him small questions. Where he was from, what Earth was like, what music he liked. Nate answered as best he could. One day, he brought a small music player and shared one of his favorite songs. Kalira listened with her eyes closed, head gently swaying. When the song ended, she opened her eyes. It is simple, she said, but warm. I like it. Nate smiled, feeling proud. After that, Kalira started bringing small things too. A strange fruit. From her world, a short poem in her language. She explained the meaning slowly, carefully. Nate listened, asked questions, and tried to repeat some of her words. She corrected him with a soft laugh. He started drawing again, something he hadn't done since training. At night, he sketched Kalira while sitting alone in his bunk. Her face, her eyes, the way she held herself. He didn't show anyone. It was just for him. One evening, Lisa noticed the drawing while passing by. You've got it bad, she teased. Nate quickly covered the paper. It's not like that. You sure? Looks like love to me. Nate didn't answer. Maybe it was. Maybe it always had been. Kalira, meanwhile, was starting to wonder about him too. She spoke to her sister through a private communication link. Her sister, a senior diplomat, had met many humans before. He watches me, but not with fear or hate. It feels like ... warmth, but I do not understand. Her sister smiled through the screen. It sounds like affection. Humans are strange in that way. They do not always speak with words. He does not say much. But when he does, he seems honest. Then maybe he is showing you something real. Just in a human way. Kalira thought about that. She had seen humans express feelings quickly, sometimes too fast. But Nate was not like that. He moved slowly, carefully, like someone who did not want to break something fragile. The next day, she watched him work. She saw how he focused, how he helped others without being asked. She noticed how he smiled at little things, how he stood beside her but never too close. And she wondered, had she misunderstood him all this time? Maybe the human was not just staring. Maybe he was trying to speak in the only way he knew how. She decided she would watch him too. Nate woke early, as always. He liked the quiet hours before the station became busy. He used that time to sketch in his small notebook. He drew lines and shapes, but mostly he drew Kalira's face. He did not plan to show anyone. He just wanted to capture the way she looked when she was thinking, or the way her eyes seemed to shine when she talked about her home world. That morning, the repair crew needed to work on a damaged relay deep inside the station. The air was cold there, and the lights were dim. Kalira was already waiting, holding a small toolkit. Nate smiled shyly at her and started his work. They worked side by side in silence. Now and then, Kalira would ask a question about a part or offer a tool. Nate found it easier to talk when they worked together. Even if he never said much. As they finished the repair, a strange sound echoed through the hall. It was a soft, musical note like wind blowing through glass. Kalira noticed Nate's confusion and smiled gently. "That is the Ilarian signal for lunchtime," she explained. "We use sound for many things, not just words." Nate nodded, feeling a bit embarrassed that he did not know. They walked together to the eating area, where humans and Ilarians shared a meal. Nate tried the fruit Kalira had given him the day before. It tasted sweet and cool. He smiled at her in thanks, and she smiled back. After lunch, Kalira invited Nate to walk with her through a garden space on the station. The Ilarian garden was full of strange plants with shining leaves. Some floated in the air, moving slowly. Small lights blinked among the branches. Kalira explained the meaning of each plant. Some were for peace, others for memory. Nate listened, enjoying her voice and the soft sounds of the garden. They stopped beside a large blue flower. Kalira touched one petal and looked at Nate. "This one is special. It is a sign of trust." Nate reached out to touch the flower too. His hand close to hers, he felt calm, almost brave. For a moment, they stood in silence, just feeling the stillness of the garden. As the days passed, Nate and Kalira became a good team. They worked together on many repairs and shared stories at mealtime. Nate talked more now, telling her about his family and life on Earth. Kalira told him about the Ilarian way of seeing the stars, about her sister, and about Ilarian music. One evening, Nate brought out his music player again. He found a quiet place where the stars were visible through a wide window. Kalira joined him, curious. He played her a song slow and gentle, with soft notes like rain. She closed her eyes and listened. When it ended, she spoke softly. "Your music is honest. It is simple but full of feeling." Nate felt a warm feeling inside. "Thank you. It makes me feel close to home." Kalira nodded. "Maybe one day I will show you Ilarian music too." They sat together in silence, just watching the stars. Nate felt his heart beat calmly. He wanted to tell her how he felt, but he was still, afraid she would not understand. For now, he was happy just to sit beside her. Sometimes Nate would see Kalira watching him. She was quiet, thoughtful. He wondered what she was thinking. Maybe she was starting to understand him, even if he could not find the words to explain his feelings. A few days later, the repair team finished a difficult project. The power core was working again, and the station lights glowed brighter. Everyone was tired but happy. The Ilarian leaders thanked the human crew with a small celebration. There was food, music, and stories shared between the two groups. Nate stood at the side, watching Kalira as she spoke with her sister. She seemed relaxed and happy. When she noticed him watching, she walked over. "You do not speak much at celebrations," she said. Nate smiled. "I like to listen. I like to watch." She gave him a long look, then surprised him by reaching out and gently touching his hand. "Sometimes I watch you too." Nate felt his face turn red, but he did not pull away. For a moment, the station felt small and quiet, even with so many people nearby. Later that night, as he lay in his bunk, Nate thought about Kalira's words. He remembered her touch and the look in her eyes. He knew now that she did not think he was strange or rude. She was curious about him, maybe even liked him a little. Nate fell asleep with a small smile on his face, dreaming of gardens, stars, and the sound of Kalira's voice. Nate was waking up from a deep sleep when the sudden sound of alarms filled the air. Red lights flashed along the walls, and his communicator buzzed. He heard voices in the hallway, worried and urgent. Nate quickly pulled on his boots and rushed out. In the corridor, Lisa met him with a worried look. "Explosion near the power core," she said. "The Ilarian crew is trying to control it, but something's wrong. We need to help." Nate ran toward the source of the alarm, heart pounding. The halls filled with smoke and the lights flickered. As he turned the corner, he saw Kalira. She was directing her people, her voice strong but calm, even as chaos broke out around her. A sudden crash shook the station. The emergency doors slammed shut, locking Nate and Kalira inside a small auxiliary lab. The power failed, leaving them with only emergency lights. Kalira tried her communicator. "No signal," she said, voice quiet but steady. Nate looked at the room. There was some equipment. A first aid kit and a vent where cold air flowed in. He found a light and turned it on. Kalira was checking her arm, which was bleeding from a cut. "Let me help," Nate said gently. He found some bandages and wrapped her arm as best he could. His hand shook a little, but Kalira smiled at him. "You are careful," she said softly. "Thank you." He tried to smile, but worry filled his mind. The room was cold, and there was no way out until the doors reopened. He gave Kalira his jacket. She hesitated, then put it around her shoulders. The silence between them felt less lonely than before. They sat together on the floor, sharing what little warmth they had. Nate checked the emergency lights every few minutes, hoping someone would find them soon. After a long while, Kalira broke the silence. "You did not run." Nate shook his head. "I could not leave you." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "You risked yourself. Why?" Nate felt his heart race. He looked away for a moment, then decided to be honest. "Because I care about you," he said quietly. "You are important to me." Kalira was silent, studying his face. For the first time, she looked unsure. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Instead, she rested her hand on his dot. Time passed slowly. They talked in whispers. Kalira told Nate about her childhood, about the first time she saw Earth on a screen. Nate spoke about his family, his small home, and why he joined the mission. The cold grew worse, and Kalira shivered. Nate gently pulled her closer. She let him. It felt safe. In that small space, surrounded by danger, they found comfort in each other. Suddenly, a loud noise came from outside. The door controls sparked and opened a few inches. Nate got up, pushed with all his strength, and the door finally opened enough for them to squeeze through. Rescue teams rushed in, helping them to safety. Doctors checked them both. Nate had a bruise on his arm, and Kalira's cut needed more care. But they would be fine. Later, when the chaos was over, Nate found himself alone in the medical bay. He thought about what he had said. Maybe he had made things worse. Maybe Kalira would avoid him now. He felt tired and unsure. Kale Ira, on the other hand, sat quietly in her room, thinking about everything that had happened. She touched the bandage on her arm and remembered Nate's careful hands. She thought about his words and the way he stayed with her even when it was dangerous. She wondered what she should do next. It was not usual for Ilarians to show feelings so openly, and she was not sure what the right thing was. But she knew she wanted to see Nate again, to ask him more about the strange, strong feelings he had shared so simply. Outside, the station began to return to normal. Repairs were being made and life slowly went on. But inside, both Nate and Kalira felt that nothing would be quite the same again. The days after the accident felt different for both Nate and Kalira. The repairs continued on the station, but something quiet and heavy now rested between them. Nate worked on the main deck again, checking wires and panels, but his mind was far away. He kept remembering the dark room, Kalira's injured arm, and how he had told her his feelings. Every time he saw her pass, his heart jumped, but she never stopped to talk. She only looked at him for a moment, then turned away. Nate felt unsure about what he had done. He wished he could take back his words. He worried that maybe he had made Kalira uncomfortable. At dinner, he sat with Lisa, picking at his food. "She hasn't talked to me since the accident," he said quietly. Lisa gave him a soft smile. "Give her time. Maybe she just needs to think." Nate nodded but still felt sad. He wanted to talk to Kalira, to tell her he was sorry for making things strange, but he didn't know how to begin. On the other side of the station, Kalira was also feeling lost. She sat in her small room, looking out at the stars. She held the jacket Nate had given her during the accident. She remembered the warmth in his careful hands. His words echoed in her mind. "Because I care about you. You are important to me." She tried to understand the human way of showing feelings. On her world, people did not speak so openly about affection. They showed care by actions, not words. But Nate had risked himself for her and had said his feelings out loud. Kalira did not know how to respond. She decided to call her sister, the one who worked with humans. Her sister appeared on the screen, smiling gently. "What is troubling you?" Kalira spoke about the accident, about Nate, and about the words he had spoken. She said, "I do not understand why he said these things." Her sister listened and then answered, "For humans, words have power. When they say they care, they mean it deeply. You must decide how you feel." Kalira sat quietly for a long time after. The call ended. She realized she did feel something for Nate, something that was both strange and nice. She remembered the times he had been kind, the moments when he made her laugh, and the way he watched her, not with fear but with interest. Later that day, Nate received a message from the commander. There was a new job waiting for him, but it was on another ship. He could leave the Illyrian station soon if he wanted. Nate thought about accepting the job. Maybe it was better to go. Maybe Kalira would be happier if he was not there to make things awkward. He went to the command deck to give his answer. As he walked, he passed Kalira in the hallway. She stopped and turned to face him. For a moment, neither spoke. The hallway was quiet. Kalira looked into Nate's eyes. "Are you leaving?" Nate took a breath. "I thought maybe I should. I don't want to make you uncomfortable." She shook her head. "You did not make me uncomfortable. You made me confused. I needed time to think." He nodded. "I'm sorry if I made things strange." She smiled. "Just a little. You did not. You made things new. I never met a human like you." They stood there for a long moment. Kalira seemed to want to say something else, but the words did not come. She reached out and gently touched Nate's arm. "Can we talk?" she asked. They found a quiet place near the garden. The plants glowed softly, making the space peaceful. Kalira sat next to Nate, folding her hands in her lap. "When you said you cared about me, I did not know how to answer. On my world, we do not say such things. We show them. But I wanted you to know that I have thought about you too. You are special to me." Nate felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He smiled and nodded. "I just wanted to be honest. I care about you, Kalira." She looked at him, her eyes warm. "I am glad you told me." They sat together, not needing to say more for now. Nate decided he would not leave, not yet. Maybe there was more to discover here, with Kalira by his side. For the first time in days, hope and quiet joy filled his heart. Nate woke up feeling lighter than he had in days. The talk with Kalira stayed in his mind. He replayed every moment, every word she said. He wondered if things would change now, if they could really become friends or something more. When he saw her in the dining hall, she gave him a small smile. He smiled back, and something unspoken passed between them, simple but important. Work continued on the station. Repairs went faster now. The teams worked together easily, and even the air felt more peaceful. Nate and Kalira were paired again for a project fixing the communication array. Nate tried to focus on the wires, but he kept looking at Kalira when she wasn't watching. She noticed once and laughed softly. "You are still staring," she said. Her voice playful now, not puzzled. Nate felt his cheeks get warm. I guess I am. Sorry. Kalira shook her head. I do not mind. I understand now. Humans show feelings in many ways. Nate grinned, a little embarrassed. I guess I do. The repair work went well, and soon they finished. As they walked back, Kalira asked, Do you still want to leave the station? Nate shook his head. No, not anymore. Why? Nate stopped walking. He looked at her. Because you're here. That's all. Kalira looked down, then reached out and gently touched his hand. Her skin was cool, but the touch was soft and warm in another way. I am glad you stayed. They walked side by side in silence. Sometimes just being near each other was enough. That night, Kalira sent Nate a message. It was short. Will, you come to the garden with me? Nate agreed. When he arrived, the garden was quiet and full of light from the glowing plants. Kalira was waiting. She handed him a small blue flower, the sign of trust she had shown him before. In my world, we give these to someone important. I want you to have it. Nate took the flower, holding it carefully. Thank you. I've never gotten a flower like this before. Kalira smiled. You are the first human I have given one to. They sat together on a soft bench, looking at the stars through the clear ceiling. Nate took a deep breath. You wanted to say something. More, something true. Kalira, I never told you everything, he began. When I stare at you, it's not because you're strange or different. It's because you're beautiful to me. Kalira looked surprised. Beautiful? Yes, the way you talk, the way you move, the way you care about your people. I admire. You. She was quiet for a long time. No one ever said that to me. Not like that. Nate felt nervous, but also free. I just wanted you to know. I can't always find the right words, but I mean it. Kalira touched his hand again, a little firmer this time. You are honest. I like that. They sat together just holding hands, not needing to say anything else. The silence was comfortable, soft and peaceful. A message came from the commander, calling everyone to a meeting the next day. The mission was almost over. Soon, the humans would return to Earth. The thought made Nate's heart heavy. He didn't want to say goodbye the next morning. Nate walked through the station, trying to remember every detail, the smell of the air, the sound of Valerian music, the color of the lights. He found Kalira in the hallway. Are you leaving? Soon? She asked. Maybe, Nate said quietly. Unless you want me to stay. Kalira nodded slowly. I would like that. Nate smiled. Then I'll try to stay. The day was busy, with people preparing for departure. Nate felt both nervous and hopeful. Maybe he would stay on the station. Maybe Kalira could visit Earth one day. There were many things to talk about. But he knew they would find a way. That evening, Nate met Kalira in the garden one last time before the decision. They walked together among the glowing plants. Kalira looked up at the stars, then at Nate. Why did you stay with me during the accident? Nate answered simply, Because I love you. Kalira was quiet. Then she nodded, touching his cheek with her hand. I think I understand now. Nate smiled, hope filling his heart. He knew nothing would ever be the same again, but he was ready for whatever came next. The last day on the Ilarian station arrived quickly. Nate woke up with mixed feelings. He was happy because of Kalira, but also sad because he did not want to leave her or the place that had become special to him. All around the station, people were saying goodbye. The humans were packing their bags, and the Ilarians were getting ready for a new group of visitors from another world. Nate walked through the halls slowly, trying to remember everything. The glowing walls, the soft lights, and the feeling of calm that was everywhere. He found Kalira in the garden, standing beside the blue flower she had given him. She smiled. When she saw him, Nate came closer, holding the flower carefully. It is time for you to go? Kalira asked. Nate nodded. Maybe, but I wish I could stay longer. Kalira looked at him. I have asked the council if I can visit Earth as part of the cultural exchange. They said yes. I will come in a few weeks. Nate felt hope fill his heart. Really? Yes, but for now, you have to return home. Will you wait for me? Nate smiled. Of course, I'll wait. They stood together in the quiet garden. Kalira took his hand, her touch gentle and careful. I want to learn about your world, she said. And I want to see if your sky is as beautiful as ours. I'll show you everything, Nate promised. The time to leave came too quickly. The human team gathered in the main docking area, saying their last goodbyes. Lisa hugged Nate and whispered, Don't let her go, okay? Nate laughed. I won't. Kalira came to say goodbye. She wore a soft blue robe, the same color as the flower. You are my first human friend, she said, and maybe something more. Nate felt his face get warm, but he didn't look away. You are very important to me, Kalira. They stood facing each other for a moment. Around them, people hurried by, but they did not notice. Kalira touched his cheek, just for a moment. I will see you soon, she said. Nate left the station with. The others, the trip home felt longer than before. The ship was full, but he spent most of the time looking out at the stars and thinking about Kalira. He thought about the blue flower, the garden, and all the times they had worked together. Every memory felt bright and alive. He drew her picture again in his notebook, trying to remember the way she smiled and the light in her eyes. Back on Earth, life returned to normal, but Nate was not the same. He went to work, saw his friends, and talked to Lisa almost every day. But he missed Kalira. He watched the sky at night, thinking of her and hoping she would come soon. One morning, a message came from the Ilarian Council. Kalira would arrive in 3 days. Nate could hardly believe it. He cleaned his small apartment and planned all the places he wanted to show her. He bought simple gifts and learned how to say welcome in Ilarian, practicing until he got it right. When the day finally came, Nate stood at the arrival platform, waiting. People from many worlds came and went, but he watched for one face. Then he saw her Kalira, walking slowly, carrying a small bag and looking around with curious eyes. Nate waved and hurried to her. She smiled, and for a moment, they just stood there, looking at each other. Then Kalira spoke. Human, why do you keep staring at me? Nate laughed. Because I love you. Kalira reached out and took his hand. Then do not stop. They left the station together. Nate showed her the parks, the river, the old city, and his favorite places to watch the stars. Kalira was quiet at first, learning everything with care. She asked many questions and listened closely to Nate's answers. They ate together, walked in gardens, and watched the sunset. Sometimes they said nothing, just sitting together in a quiet way that felt right. People noticed them. Some were surprised, but most just smiled. Nate did not care what others thought. He was happy. Kalira smiled more now, and sometimes she would reach for his hand or touch his face. It was a new way of showing she cared. One evening, they sat together in a park as the stars came out. Kalira looked up. Your sky is very beautiful, she said. Nate nodded. It is even better with you here. Kalira leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder. Maybe you will visit my world again one day, Nate smiled. I hope so. They sat in silence, holding hands and watching the stars. Love had grown between them, quiet and simple, but strong. It was not always easy to understand each other, but they tried every day. And as the night grew deeper, Nate knew this was just the beginning. Whatever the future brought, they would face it together.